not guilty until proven innocent, and it sure as hell is not true. And the issue is whether or not this has anything to do with combat experience. 2 Bronze Hearts, among other... Pete Hegseth. It's just amazing. It's actually almost crazy that it's the same thing over and over again each and every time. We're going to skip the 30 years, but Clarence Thomas, well, you can't really get Clarence Thomas on many things, although now they're going after him for ethics violations, taking gifts and whatever, make him resign. They went after Clarence Thomas, sex improprieties allegations. Brett Kavanaugh, who had been in the federal system for decades, gone through several clearances, whatever, when he gets the appointment and they're having their hearings for his confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court, 35-year-old allegations from Christine Blasey Ford, CIA asset extraordinaire, MK Ultra victim, as far as I'm concerned. They find sexual improprieties. Tulsi Gabbard, they got to go with the Russian asset angle on that, I guess. I don't know what her background is, that maybe those accusations of sexual improprieties would never stick to Tulsi Gabbard in the first place. They're doing it again. Pete Hegseth. At first, it was, who's Pete Hegseth? How can you have a Secretary of Defense who has no military experience? He's just a talk show host. How can you have it? He's just a Saturday morning talk show host. Who the hell is Pete? And then people don't know that he's got 2+ decades. I appreciate some people were telling me that his awards might be standard awards given, and so maybe, I don't know how the military works either, never served. But people didn't know of his military experience, combat experience, 2 Bronze Hearts, among other military accolades. They did that. And now that one has faded out, they've come up with accusations of sexual improprieties. They've dug up accusations from 7 years ago. Check this out. Let me get the article. I know my propensity is to say this is bullshit. I like Hegseth, and I'm going to be forgiving on what I might otherwise be unforgiving on had it been a Democrat who's accused of this. There's 2 things at its most charitable to Hegseth. It shows judgment that I would not exercise. I would not do. Having consensual, at the most charitable, it's consensual relations with a woman who he knew was married at a conference after a night of drinking. Not something I have ever done, and not something I would ever do. At its most charitable. At its most uncharitable, you believe the woman who no charges were ever pressed. They had some sort of settlement. But I'll tell you why I'm a little bit skeptical of the woman's version of events, because we'll get there in a second. I'll tell you up the front so that nobody takes this out of context. The woman was married, is out at a Republican conference, we're going to get to this in a second, drinking in a bar, gleefully, and then leaving, as per video footage, arm in arm, smiling with Pete Hegseth, a married woman whose husband is at the event. So in the event, in the realm of possibility, was it non-consensual, or was it a woman who's like, holy shit, I just cheated on my husband and now I've got to come up with a damn good excuse. I'll let you play the judge. Police report reveals new details from sexual assault allegation against Trump's defense secretary nominee. It's amazing. 7 years old, by the way, only comes up now, but it's to be expected. And had the political rules been inverted, I would expect people to make hay of this, and I would expect them to use it as a weapon. California woman told police that Trump cabinet pick Pete Hegseth physically blocked her from leaving a hotel room. He blocked her from leaving, which the underlying implication is that she entered consensually at 2:00 in the morning, give or take, after leaving a bar, smiling gleefully with Pete Hegseth. Okay. Took her phone and then sexually assaulted her, even though she, quote, remembered saying no a lot, end quote. Police report obtained by CNN. Okay. The police report, 22 pages, shows some details. It was released under a FOIA request. It's 7 years old. This occurred back in 2017. So Hegseth, we know he's been picked as Secretary of Defense. He told police that the encounter was consensual and that he repeatedly made sure the woman was comfortable with what was going on between the two of them. That was in quotes. 7 years after the alleged assault, questions over what happened that night could jeopardize his nomination. He wasn't charged. His attorneys acknowledged Hegseth later entered into a settlement agreement with the accuser, that included an undisclosed monetary payment. All right. So they say, and you know, this is an amazing thing. Like, if you're going to make a statement that is undeniably true, not one that is easily retorted from a political perspective. Quote, this police report confirms what I've said all along, that the incident was fully investigated. That's true. And police found the allegations to be false. You know that someone's going to say that's not what the report says. Unless the report says that, which apparently the report doesn't say the allegations were false. No charges were ever laid, which is where you could have left it. So you don't give fodder to an easy rebuttal to contradict a portion of a statement. No charges were filed, said Timothy Parlator, Hegseth's attorney, told CNN. Okay. Although the report does not say the allegations were to be false. The woman accused Hegseth of assault. She broke into tears when asked about the matter by CNN last week and declined to comment. Listen to this. Okay. So according to the police report, the alleged assault took place in the early morning hours of October 8, 2017. Hegseth spoke at a convention of the California Federation of Republican Women at the Hyatt Regency Montgomery Hotel and spa the night before. I looked into it. Hegseth has been married 3 times, divorced twice. And from what I understand temporally, he was not married at this time because he got divorced in 2017 from his second wife, got remarried in 2019. An attorney for the city of Montgomery, which had previously shared only cursory details about its investigation, wrote that the city was releasing a redacted version of the report because it had previously released it to Hegseth in 2021. It identifies the Jane Doe. The records release does not include copies of video footage. Police reports description of Doe's account on the night mirrors some of the details laid out in a memo written by a friend of Doe and delivered to the Trump transition team last week, which allegedly sparked consternation among Trump advisors who were caught off guard by the allegation. I'd be shocked if that's true. I mean, I'd be shocked if nobody knew about this. I'd be shocked if Hegseth himself didn't disclose this. Doe and Hegseth, as well as this is the events of the night, and listen to this and you'll come to your own conclusions afterwards. Both Doe and Hegseth, as well as several attendees interviewed by police, told officers that the two of them went with a group to the hotel bar, Knuckles. By the way, nothing good happens after midnight. It's 10 o'clock and now it's 8 o'clock for me. After the speech at an after party. There, a conference attendee told police that Hegseth had touched her knee and invited her to come to his hotel room. Hegseth, single man, and from what I understand of the bar scene, that's what people do at bars. Meet, hook up, and carry on with their lives. It's not stuff that I do. The attendee said she declined the invitation and, quote, gained the attention, end quote, of Doe and had her become what the report describes as a crotch blocker, hoping that Doe's presence would detour Hegseth's attempt to have sex with her. The attendee later left the bar, said Doe did not appear intoxicated when she last had contact. Okay. Another attendee told police she saw what she described as Doe and another woman flirting with Hegseth at the bar. Okay. At the time, Doe was coherent and did not seem intoxicated to the point where she would not be able to take care of her own safety. That attendee said, okay. Doe told the officers she believed Hegseth was acting inappropriately with the other women during the conference and texted someone that he, quote, was giving off a creeper vibe, according to the report. Doe later told a hospital nurse that she was not sure but believes that something may have been slipped into her drink as she cannot remember the night's events. The nurse passed that on to the police report. The report says. Report also notes Doe had been drinking much more than normal that day. Okay. Officers reviewed surveillance video from the hotel, timestamped 1:15 a.m., that showed Doe and Hegseth, quote, walking together with arms locked together, end quote, leaving the bar and heading toward the hotel pool with Doe smiling. She remembered walking out of the bar. I'll tell you, we'll skip to where it gets very interesting. Police also interviewed a hotel employee who responded to guest complaints about an argument that they heard at 1:30. Hegseth told an employee that he had the freedom of speech before he and Doe left. The employee remembered. The employee said Hegseth appeared to be heavily intoxicated, Doe not so much. Doe told police her next memory was after the argument was being in a hotel room with Hegseth. They had an argument. They leave hand in hand, arm in arm. She's smiling. And then they're back in his room. Tried to leave. He blocked her. She doesn't remember a lot. Next, she remembered Hegseth over on her. I'm not reading these details. They did it. Okay. Skip it. You can read that. Listen to this. Doe told police she did not remember how she got back to her own hotel room, but remembered waking up in her room and getting into bed. Doe's husband, who attended the conference with her, told police he was worried when she didn't come back to their hotel room earlier that night and that she didn't return until about 4 a.m. Okay, this I think is, as far as I am concerned, like the most relevant element of all of this. She's there with her husband. She goes to a bar without her husband, is getting drunk and returning consensually to the hotel room of another man, where they do it, where it ends with fluids on the body. And then she has to go back to her husband in the hotel room and maybe now is thinking, what the hell have I just done? Doe told officers that, quote, the incident involving Hegseth did not dawn on her, end quote, until after she returned home. She went to a hospital, reported sexual assault on October 12th, where she underwent a rape kit. Gave her clothes wearing the night before. A nurse at the hospital first reported the alleged assault to authorities. Hegseth, in contrast, said it was consensual. She sat down in a room and did not leave, and that she thought it was odd that she stayed in his room, according to the report. Okay, fine, then that's it. Hegseth said that Doe asked him if he had a condom, and he didn't. He said he asked her if that was a problem, and she said it wasn't. After the sex, Hegseth said he had a very clear conversation with Doe, who told him she would tell her husband she had, quote, fallen asleep on a couch in someone else's room. He told police that she showed, quote, early signs of regrets, end quote. So you have two versions of events here, although you don't really even have two versions of events because no charges were laid. They entered into a settlement for reasons that I think are obvious. But the woman is at a conference, drinking without her husband, returning to somebody else's hotel room. I see from Hegseth's perspective, from a matter of like self-preservation. You're having sex with a married woman. You're doubling your risk of someone killing you, either the woman or the husband. But that is not the issue. The issue is not morality. The issue is criminality. And the issue is whether or not this has anything to do with his nomination appointment to Secretary of Defense. And between the two stories of it having been non-consensual or it having been consensual, and you have a woman waking up and saying, what the hell have I done? I've got to go back and crawl into the bed with my husband after having had sex with another man. Let's think of a story. Oh yeah, I'll fall asleep on your couch and I'll clean up and then I'll go back to my husband. Those are my thoughts on this. I don't understand how people do these things. Even at the most charitable interpretation, I do not award this the least charitable interpretation of criminal sexual impropriety, sexual assault. Can't ignore the story. I try to think of what would I think about if Hegseth was a Democrat nominee. I might not be as forgiving, although I think I'm consistent in the interpretation of these events. It's not guilty until proven innocent, and it sure as hell is not trial for sexual assault in the court of public opinion. And the bottom line is that had it not been for the Democrat systematic abuse of throwing around these accusations, one might actually lend more credence to them when they occur. But they use it not just consistently, reflexively, when they want to go after someone politically. They did it to Matt Gaetz. Don't believe it for a second. Whether or not Matt Gaetz was doing things extracurricularly that I would not do, to each their own. We're not hiring babysitters here, people. You're hiring a Secretary of Defense, someone who's going to be involved in causing the death of people. And Hegseth, to his credit, seems to have been divorced and got married later on and still married.